Looking back, it seems evident that I should not have taken those tablets. But I was exhausted. My insomnia was worse than usual, and I hadn't slept well for about a week. My partner was the one to offer me some of his sleeping drugs. Deep down, I knew I shouldn't have taken someone else's medication, but I was exhausted and eager to try anything. And it worked. The next morning, I awoke from the deepest sleep I'd ever experienced. "Jake, wake up." I was too excited to let him sleep in, the irony. It worked. I understand. I stayed up late watching the game. When I came in, you were sleeping like a log. He yawned and grinned at me. You didn't wake up for anything. The following night, I took another sleeping tablet, and the result was the same. It quickly became a typical part of the routine. I'd wake up feeling rejuvenated, go about my day, and then take another of Jake's sleeping pills before going to bed. I thought nothing was wrong until I spotted the marks on my thighs. Where did these come from? I was talking to myself, but Jake overheard and came to see. He claimed it was probably nothing and that I had just rolled onto something in the bed. I had no idea how it would happen, but with those tablets, I slept so hard I couldn't tell. I attempted to ignore it, but after a few weeks, my legs began to pain and the bruising on my thighs became more severe. I had my suspicions, but I tried to convince myself I was being crazy. Jake was not like that. After a few weeks of trying to come up with another explanation, I decided to investigate. I made sure Jake watched me take one of his medications, but when he was not looking, I spat it out. Then I feigned to sleep. Jake entered the room and climbed into bed alongside me. For a moment, I believed my anxieties were baseless. Maybe I was simply clumsy. Maybe there was nothing to worry about, as he had suggested. But then he sat up and began tapping me on the cheek. I did my best to pretend I was out cold. "Hey, are you awake? Babe, wake up." He stayed at it for a minute before leaning over me. I sat straight upright and shoved him away. He said he had done nothing wrong, that I looked funny, and that he was just checking on me. I'd had enough of the bruises and sore thighs in the mornings. I yelled at him for taking advantage of me every night. I told him what I knew as he sat there and disputed it. Finally, I told him to leave. I could no longer trust him. The name on the apartment contract was mine, so Jake and his belongings were left by the next morning. When I was cleaning that day, I discovered his nearly empty sleeping medication bottle. I almost put them on the pile of his belongings that were accumulating in the hallway. Then I considered it and placed the bottle on my nightstand. Whether I trusted Jake or not, these medicines worked. I'd take one more tonight and have a nice night's rest. So, I did. I'd give anything now to go back in time and tell myself to stop. After that, everything was a whirl of sirens, wires, and sobbing. Jake remained in the waiting area until the doctors allowed him to enter my ICU room. I was so weak I couldn't even apologize to him, but I suppose that's common after a stroke. I wish I hadn't taken the medicines. I ignored all indications of a blood clotting problem until I awoke alone in my flat with half of my body incapacitated. I had been dehydrated and starved for days with no one to aid me. We've all had nightmares, but how often do they last? For me, they began with vague images and whispers of voices in the background of my dreams, but now I'm seeing every image unfold before my eyes in detail, hearing every syllable of every word spoken, and they've continued to worsen and become more terrifying. At first, I couldn't see or hear, but suddenly I was the victim. I was Thomas Dreary. I was strapped to the chair. I was speaking to his killer. I was asking for my life, and I was taking his last breath. The nightmares, they've also been getting hard to differentiate between dream and reality. I've begun waking up, but I'm not awake. The first time this happened, I was standing in the middle of a dark room watching the man and Thomas speak. Before he killed Thomas, the first woke up and was lying in bed. I lied there for what felt like hours. I started hearing the noise. It was right beside me. It was coming from my alarm clock. But it wasn't. It was as if it was coming from a different. That was the first time it happened. The second time was worse. I was standing there watching Thomas's final moments when I awoke just before his killer sliced his throat. I woke up in sweat laying there trying to catch my breath. As I was laying there, I thought I heard something coming down my hall straight toward my bedroom. Before I could react, a silhouette of a human void of any details grabbed me, rolled me on my stomach, and cut my throat, the same as what happened to Thomas. I became disembodied in my dream and was watching myself die. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Just before I took my last breath, I woke myself up before. Although this hasn't been happening every night, yet these are by far the scariest nights, and it's happened so many times that I've started setting alarms to go off frequently during the night. Maybe I'm exaggerating. After all, these are simply dreams, no matter how terrifying they are, but whoever killed Thomas was never caught. For some reason, I have the same detailed dream about his murder every night. The only detail missing is his killer's face. It's the same every time. Even while it was Thomas, his killer walks up, strikes the lighter, and his face is blank. There are no eyes, no holes for eyes, no mouth, no nose, just a pale smooth surface where a face should be. Anyway, for some reason, I'm seeing all of this nightly detail. It's as if I'm connected to Thomas, or he's connected to me. I'm not sure, but I knew his name before it was revealed to the public. I stumbled upon his body and saw the wound, but I knew his name from my dreams. I'm not sure how that makes sense. I know it doesn't, but my nightmares have become more than just horrible dreams, and I'm terrified, not just of my dreams, but even while I'm awake. I'm not sure whether it's simply a lack of sleep, but I'm starting to hear voices.